Now, your forecast first, sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
Well, a little bit more cloud cover today. You may have noticed that, a little bit lack of that sunshine. Still turned out to be a really nice day, but notice the clouds. You can see thickening up here, especially closer to I-70. We've had that. And that has, again, kept the temperatures a few degrees cooler. Effingham's only at 70 right now. Then you've got 75 in both Springfield and in Champaign as we go throughout this evening. It's going to be another cool one. We will keep the clouds, but those temperatures falling off once again, upper 50s by around 10 o'clock. But there is a little bit of a slight warm-up we've got to tell you about, along with humidity as temperatures return to the 80s. We'll let you know when to expect that coming up here in just a little bit. WCIA 3 News starts
now on WCIA 3 News.
A grand jury is charging only one of the officers involved in the death of Breonna Taylor. Why state leaders are calling that a miscarriage of justice.
Changes are coming to a police department. Who's getting new staff members after a controversial arrest?
Only those families who chose the hybrid as their choice would be sending their students back.
And parents are waiting to hear if their kids are headed back to the classroom, where districts stand on that decision.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 5.
The above-named defendant, Brett Hankison, committed the offense of wanton endangerment in the first degree.
One of the police officers involved in the death of Breonna Taylor will face criminal charges, but some say that's not enough. Good evening, I'm Jennifer Roscoe. It's a case that has stirred calls for justice around the country. A grand jury indicted former officer Hankison with 3 counts of wanton endangerment. This is after the police raid that led to Taylor's death in Louisville. But the charges are for shooting into neighboring apartments. They aren't directly related to her death. There are no charges against the other 2 officers. Protesters have been taking to the streets in Louisville ever since the announcement was made.
This is a tragedy, and sometimes the law, the criminal law, is not adequate to respond to a tragedy. And I fully acknowledge that, and I know many that are watching today and those that are listening recognize that as well. But the response is that the grand jury was given all of the evidence, presented all of the information, and ultimately made the determination that Detective Hankison was the one to be indicted.
Several people have been arrested after confrontations with police. Louisville's mayor has issued a curfew for tonight after 9 o'clock. Now, the response to the grand jury's decision to charge only one officer didn't stop in Kentucky. Governor Pritzker held a news conference after the decision was made. He was joined by the lieutenant governor and Chicago's mayor. WCIA 3's Cole Henke live in Springfield. And Cole, the governor did not hold back today.
Yeah, that's right, Jennifer. The governor wasted no time condemning the grand jury's decision today. He said that lone charge against the one officer was not nearly enough and called it a miscarriage of justice. All of the speakers echoed the governor and encouraged that protests stay safe and peaceful. Chicago saw nights of looting during the protest following George Floyd's death. Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton also bashed the ruling.
The decision to only charge one officer with wanton endangerment is unacceptable. It is hurtful, it is confusing, and it further illustrates how Black people are often dehumanized and disenfranchised by the criminal justice system.
The governor says that change needs to come following this result, but called for peaceful protests instead of looting. Pritzker put the National Guard in the state on standby yesterday, but the state police will be serving as the primary helping force with city police. The National Guard is just backup. Reporting in Springfield, I'm Cole Henke, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
Cole, thank you so much for that. The Urbana Police Department is getting new staff members. A new community engagement coordinator will be introduced at the Police Review Board meeting. Members will also talk about recruiting a new human rights and equity coordinator. The move comes after council members talked about an outside review of use of force 2 weeks ago. A Chicago firm said police didn't violate department policy during the arrest of Aaliyah Lewis. It did recommend making outreach-related changes. The emergency order in Urbana has been extended until at least November 1st. It restricts the number of people at private parties and homes. It also calls for the use of masks and social distancing. The city has also stopped issuing public event permits for gatherings on public property. The council is expected to ratify this at their meeting on Monday. And here are the latest coronavirus numbers now. The state reporting more than 1,800 new cases. There are now around 279,000 total. The 7-day positivity rate is still at 3.5%. 22 more people have died. Illinois has now lost 8,500 to COVID-19. With the second quarter right around the corner, parents and teachers are waiting for decisions by their districts on what kind of learning kids will have. WCIA3's Jen Lask is with us now. So, all right, Jen, give us a rundown of where things stand for some of the districts that started the year remotely.
Jennifer, we'll start with Decatur, one of the first fully remote districts to begin the school year. Students there will begin the second quarter remotely for at least the first 4 weeks, and a decision on whether to go hybrid after that will be made by October 30th. As for Springfield, the earliest the district can go back is at the end of the first quarter, October 26th, and they just approved standards for determining the case count in Sangamon County and whether that is low enough.
Over 50% of our students are going to still stay remote. Please understand that as well, because only those families who chose the hybrid as their choice would be sending their students back. The remote students will still stay remote in District 186.
In Champaign, Superintendent Susan Zola will share survey feedback from families about reopening next Tuesday, along with a recommendation for what to do for the second quarter. Urbana's next school board meeting, October 6th. At that point, Superintendent Jennifer Ivory Tatum says she'll try to give another update on whether they'll stay remote at that time. Charleston School Board is holding a special meeting tonight about its reopening plans for in-person, and right now, students are in remote learning for at least the first quarter. WCIA3 is following that meeting, which begins at 6, and we'll keep you posted on that. Back to you.
All right, definitely crunch time for these districts to have to make another big decision.
Definitely.
All right, thank you. The federal government has given local school districts millions of dollars to help them teach during the pandemic. The Illinois State Board of Ed says it's anticipating schools and districts will need more money beyond that. It's asking schools to let them know what they need and will make a budget recommendation to Governor Pritzker and state lawmakers this January. Sarah Bush Lincoln Health Center is one step closer to getting a new facility in Effingham. They got a permit from the Illinois Health Facilities and Services Review Board to start construction. It'll cost about $35 million. The new building will replace the old office building. It'll be about 65,000 square feet. Healthcare workers will have more space to offer services.
This new building will replace a very outdated, dilapidated building that's been there for over 50 years. It originally was a skating rink and has been used for several other purposes over the years.
Construction is expected to start in October. Police are investigating a car crash. It happened at the corner of Goodwin and Fairview Streets in Urbana. A car flipped on its side on the front lawn of Martin Luther King Jr. School. No one was inside or around the car when police got there. Crews cleaned up the damage, including a street sign and light posts that were knocked down. Police say they're still working to find out if anyone was hurt. The pandemic has pushed people to spend more time outdoors, and cities are taking note. Which new outside activities are coming to our town, Muhammad? Plus this.
Just the outpouring of love that people in this town give to help find a dog.
A dog's field trip turned into a week-long journey as she found her way back home with some help.